Good afternoon, everyone. This is your host, Sanjiv Goyal. Today, I brought a special friend of mine, Ari. Ari doesn't need any introduction if you lived in Silicon Valley. She's one of the most celebrated VC, and she has created a platform for so many women entrepreneurs to thrive. Let's bring her on the stage and talk to her about what is her plan to solve the problem of 10 billion people. Welcome, Ari.
Thank you so much for having me. Nice to see you.
So, Ari, the first question I always ask all my guests is, so it's the same question for you. Do you have a confession for our audience?
Yes, I often think about what mistake I made. Since I was 7, I used to think about that every night. 7. I don't know how I got that habit. And also recently, looking at what I have started, Women Startup Lab, Women Focus Accelerator here in the Silicon Valley. What we have done is great, but what else we're missing? So that has been kind of, some people say, wow, you're so Asian, always looking at what else more can you do? But I think that's kind of, if you don't control, you get too negative, but I think that has been the source of reflection. And so that's kind of my recent confession. That has been it.
So, Ari, the first question I have for you is, why did you choose to set up a startup or an incubator for women?
Being women, we don't lack in our intelligence or commitment and the desire to succeed, and even more energy and passion to change the world as equally, if not more.
Especially the empathy women have and creativity. And without that, you can't solve complex problems. People talk about it, but we forget the left and right brain. I always get confused which one is what, but half of your brain is actually work like females. So, and that is equally important to solve any bigger problems. I call them meta problems.
Well, and it's like, you don't want to be doing a business with one eye closed and one hand to shake hands to the business. You're not going to go out doing that. Your eyes wide open, both hands to do whatever it takes to make your business successful or make a better society for ourselves. So why wouldn't you pay attention? Our half of the population's idea and conversation and struggle are not reflected. We had to look at the system, why they're not showing up. And I think it is really important for us to look at systemic bias, systemic issue that prevented women to participate. And so at that time, 2013, many of the entrepreneur program was 3 months long. And so women often didn't have the opportunity to be away from home, or only limited to young women who didn't have other responsibility. And so we need to focusing on different type of a program, allow them to participate. That's one thing. And the other thing is that we look at women's study and psychology, the economical behavior. How does women thrive and where they gain the confidence, where they thrive? And when you look at that, women often gain confidence and thrive through collaboration, versus men tended to thrive and gain confidence through competition. So we look at our program designed specifically environment and program designed in a way that naturally pull women's strength. And so our program is residential. Often we emphasize on entrepreneur to entrepreneur collaborative conversation. And then third, it add in a network of powerful leader here in the Silicon Valley that not only provide advice, but actually pull them up to where they are. Because often women didn't have that layer, thick layer of a resource and network for somebody else to notice and then pull them up to the place that they deserve to be.
Absolutely. So, Ari, I spent more than 16 plus years in Silicon Valley. We all saw Silicon Valley change. There was a time 20 years ago, a bunch of us came in boat, instead of boat, this time we came on the planes, and we made America our home. And America gave all of us an opportunity to thrive and grow. And people like us created, actually, I will take some credit for it as Silicon Valley, because most of I believe it's one of the most diverse place I have seen in my life, most amazing place for innovators and thinkers and futurists is there. There are close to 3.6 million people live in that San Francisco, Silicon Valley area. It's a pretty large population, but if you compare it for our guest, Las Vegas population is close to 2.3, 2.4 million. Now, if we talk about the contribution of Silicon Valley to the earth, to the whole globe, is phenomenal. We have multi-trillion-dollar companies started and running successfully from Silicon Valley. Biggest example is Google and Apple. Why Silicon Valley is so important and why Silicon Valley is doing so well? What do you think about that, Ari?
I think this question's been answered in many layers, but just my personal opinion, recently during the COVID, I actually stepped out of Silicon Valley, stayed in Japan for 1 year. When you're in it, it's just the speed and pressures, and it's just never enough, right? There's always more. And a part of it, it's a center of the best in the world come together and create something extraordinary. But also there's a toxic competition, lie and cheat, those things happen as well. So we get to see that here. So you need a little bit of break, and some people did. I just stepped out and I came back, and there's a group of people who are really in it, and their perspective of the world is right there then. And when you say, I want to do this big project that change the world, not because they heard it and saying it, they really mean it. And then literally during the lunch, they can go through the people they know, or I go through the people, we can literally create a team. And you can actually see it's happening. And I think that thick layer of resources and people who have experience and done it many times with the world-changing global impact project, those people all here, not that they don't exist outside, but when you say, let's go, and how quickly you can pull the resources.
Let's build the next Google, we can have talent there.
Yeah.
Because I try to analyze it, coming as an immigrant, it is important for us to understand what is that systematic thinking and why that place is systematically outperforming everywhere else. So one is access to education. We have Stanford, we have UC Berkeley, we have UC Davis, we have UC Santa Cruz, and we have plethora of amazing universities within 3 to 4 hours drive. The talent is, I will say, in excess, actually. If you talk to anybody who is doing even menial work, you will be surprised how well-versed they are. So it's a humbling experience, but at the same time, when you have phenomenal talent, it does magic. I moved to Las Vegas 3 years ago, and phenomenal place. We spend $100 billion a year. $100 billion, not a pocket change. Total number of tech workers or tech people are 16,000. In Silicon Valley, I think out of 3.4, 1.8 million somehow are engaged in different kind of tech activity. Now, the whole world is running on technology. We understand it. What happened in the last 2 years, we witnessed it, but our banking system continued to thrive. Our stock market thrive, our housing market didn't crash. Nothing happened as if, yes, we had problems. Yes, a lot of people have issues of the income, but overall, the whole world continued to run. Imagine a world 25 years ago, not too far ago, I'm not talking 100, 25 years ago, before or prior to internet. If something like that have happened, there will be mayhem on the streets of San Francisco. And that is what I realized, that the core to all of it, Ari, is education. If we can build better education systems in any part of the world, These young kids, they can change the world. They will be the next Steve Jobs, Bill Gates, Elon Musk, whatever. Because being lived in Silicon Valley, for us, it's all about opportunity. Do you agree?
Yes, and we often think Silicon Valley is American people who moved to Silicon Valley. This is a place, is really a collection of talented people, an idea and the vision around the world just happen to gather here, and more people going back home and sharing that knowledge and network. I don't think we can do a cut and copy and paste Silicon Valley to other places, which sometimes concerns me. Ecosystem is only workable with all those right ingredients to work. And so often they look at what Silicon Valley do, and then without looking at the ingredient, they copy and paste to their own region when the resources and the maturity of a certain education and conversation is not there. And come to that education, I really would like to see those younger generation are thriving, not to say, hey, I have to make money, I have to be unicorn. That is not the conversation. It's about who you are, what is a unique aspect that you bring in, and using a technology and innovation to scale it and making impact, and then money and all that is a part of it. And so, I think education should go as far as we can expand. And Silicon Valley is looked at as a great role model. But we have to stay humble that this is a collection of everybody else, not the Silicon Valley people was the smartest. All the other smart people came here and grew with the soils and money that we had here.
So coming back to our today's conversation, I looked at the number of unicorn in the last 4 or 5 years. The very, very few female or women founders. Canva is the biggest example, company out of Australia, and I love the product. Phenomenal work. Great story, how she pivoted from an e-learning to really simply a social media kind of product. What is the reason why there are not many women unicorns?
We have much a small number of engineers to affect the number of entrepreneurs who starts, and also number of entrepreneurs, how they think about technology as a part of access to scale it. And one of the biggest conversation it has been, we've been having is amount of the money that goes to women entrepreneurs. When we focus on accelerator, I always talk about, great, you built the wonderful car, we helped you, great, you became a great driver as an entrepreneur. And what I faced with right now is they only get to have 3 cents worth of gasoline in it. 3%, less than 3% of women entrepreneurs get venture fund. And that is very, very small amount. And so that's the starting point. It really hinders women entrepreneurs to have a full opportunity, scale of opportunity to grow to unicorn, whatnot. So one, as a society, we're missing venture opportunity. And two, we as a society having a lot of area that it's no technology is have gone into. Just because you have a great technology, don't assume the rest of the people has that access. And that's just not the case, and especially when women are not out there.
So Ari, I will add a little bit more color to that from a man's word. And this may be a biased take because I'm a man. What I find majority of the time, whatever their background is, learnings, their growth and the past they have, most women are not very comfortable talking big. They always try to underestimate their capabilities. When they come for these presentations, they are always trying to be playing it very safe. They're not trying to push the envelope. What I find with the men, because I'm on the other side and I do some angel investing, I realize most men, to them it is It's the big or go home. And that is, I think, is the another reason most women has, of course, there are other issues, but one big thing is if you don't believe in yourself, why will someone else believe in you? And that's something is very fundamental, and it may be encoded in genetics. I don't know, on DNA, whatever it is, there are hundreds of ways to analyze it. But that's one thing I find in common with most women, that they are amazing, phenomenal, but they always sell themselves short. Correct me if I'm wrong.
It appears that way,
Okay.
right?
That's
and
great.
They express differently. And if you are rewarded talking big, then you learn to talk big. I was born and raised in Japan, and I only knew how to speak very humble, apologize, and downplay. That's how I had to play to earn the respect, being accepted as considerate, thoughtful, educated women.
Yeah.
Now, that didn't work when I came
It's
to
almost
America.
genetically engineered in women.
And if I don't speak a certain way, they just assume you don't have a confidence. Now, the other thing is, compared to men and how women are treated in the society, when women spoke confidently like men, they got punished. Like, all the other women are so polite and submissive. You talk like that, you must be really something negative. So we've been kind of taught to be a certain way. We have to wait till somebody asks us to go to prom and some school change nowadays. But society is so designed based on the male model that's why we talk a lot about biases those days. Now, when women entrepreneurs come and when they speak big, which of course we're not saying therefore society should adapt and sympathetic to women. That's not what we're saying. But a men too. Or if you're an investor, you want to be really clear, you're not missing opportunity, which then you want to also see what is the dynamic difference, how men express versus women. So just because they play safe, statistically, women are more successful in entrepreneur. Women team produce over 20% return than male entrepreneur. The other thing is they play safe, but it doesn't mean that they don't have a big vision. They were rewarded, or they cares about, return to the investor. They focusing on the trust. Versus men might say, whether you trust or not, I want you to bet on me by me being a bigger thinker. They got rewarded. So, we've been rewarded different things by society. So one, just because they don't speak like that, it's not that they are not confident.
To see your point, and I tend to agree with you on this challenge. But at the same time, we have to change it. And people like you, me, all of us have a responsibility to create an environment where both men and women thrive and they all have equal opportunity. And let the merit decide. We are almost to the end of our segment. So you have coached and mentored personally several women. There are great success stories you have. Is there any in particular you would like to share with our audience?
I remember there's one entrepreneur. She was from Midwest, and she was an engineer, and then she started coding and created this business that allow baby gear goods to go within 24 hours to grandparents' place or hotel, and then set up, clean, everything done. And we as mom, always traveling, become preparations a headache. So she said, I'm going to do this. She started. But everybody else said, there's no way you can do that. And also when she pursued, everybody else said, don't you love your kids? So she had a double pressure, saying that your business is not going to work, but also being questioned about her being a great mom. And so she said, I'm going to quit, which I get a lot of women at the last straw. They're about to quit. So she came and said, before quit, I wanted to join Women's Startup Lab. She worked really, really hard, and she got so much support, and she expanded her vision. didn't realize it's a much larger market, but she had to change the way she tell the story. She have gotten one of the advisor to be investor and co-founder at that time. And so then she took off and became a really successful business and still standing after 5 years.
That's amazing. It's just a great story, Ari. Thank you very much for sharing that story. So for our audience, there are 3 things I find really worth remembering in my opinion. One is, number one, in my personal opinion, is believe in yourself. If you don't believe in yourself, nobody else will believe. Second is tribe. There is nothing can substitute that. If you don't have a tribe, like-minded people who can help you, coach you, nourish you, work with you, you cannot get anywhere you want to. And number 3, there is no substitute to the learning, whether it's education or it is learning in any other way. And that is so fundamental. We are all here because of the amazing education we received. I'm not the smartest guy, but we got the opportunity. We got to the best institution. We get to learn from the best. We get amazing teachers around us. And these are the 3 ingredients I find work for me. And I believe it will work for you if you give it a shot. Ari, thank you so much for your time. I want to thank all of you. We have no show without you, the audience. Thank you very much. Do write to me if you have any comment or suggestion. And do share your feedback. I have a now YouTube channel, Sanjiv Goyal. Check it out. We have all the phenomenal speakers, videos recorded just like Ari. Thank you, Radio Zindagi, Anti-TVC, and IIT Delhi Excellence Foundation for supporting our show. Thanks.